Today we're going to be talking about tile and the best ways that I've found to cut it. Welcome to our channel. Here we're going to show you not only how we turned our house into our small family farm, but we're going to show you how and why things work around the house. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below and hit that bell icon to be notified of all of our new videos that do come out each and every week. So the subject of tile came up as we were starting a new project of putting subway backsplash tile up in our kitchen. Also make sure to check out that video next week when it comes out. But we were trying to figure out what the best way to cut these tiles were. We found a few ways that'll work best for our case. The first method you could use is a tile scribe tool. These are fairly inexpensive, probably about $5. All it is it's this little tool, and it's got a little tip on it that'll scratch the tile surface and allow you to scribe a line on it and then break it. So to use this guy, like I said, it is difficult to use, but what we do typically is we'd mark out a line on our tile, and then we're going to go ahead and scratch it. But we don't want to just by hand go down because the line would be all over the place and it'd be wiggly. So we're going to take our straight edge, we're going to hold it down, and then we're going to drag this all the way down along our straight edge. There we go. It's hard to see, but there is a scribed line in there. I was still pushing fairly hard and it barely scratched the surface, so I don't think this is actually going to split very well. And that's why I don't like this, because you have to put so much effort into it and it still may not work. But I'll show you how you would break this. You're going to put something underneath it at that score line, and you're going to apply gentle pressure on the other side, and it should snap. In this case, it did actually snap pretty cleanly, but that's definitely the exception and not the norm. But you can see basically how that works. The advantages to this are that they're really cheap, but the disadvantage is they're really hard to use and they're really hard to get a straight line. So with that being said, I don't use this tool a whole lot at all anymore. It's just too hard to get that straight line and too hard to make a nice clean cut with it. But what I did go ahead and get, which is our second method of cutting tile, is a tile cutter. This thing is about $23 and we got it at our local hardware store. This thing works awesome. It's got two parts to it actually. It's got a scribe wheel underneath, which is very similar to this, and then it's got a handle that it uses to snap the tile. This thing is great for cutting tile in half or cutting sections off the tile to make them fit. It works great, it's easy, and it's fast, and the lines are clean. So here's this tile cutter up close. We'll show you the parts, and here's the handle, and underneath here is the wheel, and this is what's going to actually score the tile. This little piece here is what's going to be used to break the tile. As you can see in this tile cutter, it's got two like neoprene pads on both sides, and in the center it's got a ridge. In order to explain how this works, we'll just demonstrate it. So we'll get a piece of tile here to show you how this works. We're going to go ahead and put the tile in, and we're going to line up the marks that we put of where we want it cut to the very center, and that's going to be over this ridge. As we take this, we're going to lift the handle up. What's going to happen is as we get close to this tile, we're going to drop the scoring wheel onto the tile. And then you can feel pressure on it, and then you're going to push down with the handle and push it along until it gets to the very end. This will score the tile to begin with. Okay. As you can see, tile has a nice score line on there. I don't know if you can tell that or not from the camera, but it's got a lot better score line than it did with the hand scoring tool. Now what's going to happen is we're going to use this next piece here, this piece that I showed you earlier. We're going to let that fall down, and we're going to take it over that piece of tile. Now what this does is it puts pressure on both sides of this tile, and so it pushes it down. And when it pushes it down, the middle part right underneath the score line makes contact with that ridge in the center, and it'll cause it to snap in half. As you can see here, we'll push down, and there you go. It's that simple. It's not as violent as the other one. It's already snapped, and we get our two pieces of tile. Really clean line, really easy, not a whole lot of effort to put in, and it's repeatable, does it every single time nice and clean. The only disadvantage to this is it can't do complex cuts. For example, when you need to cut a tile and cut just a chunk out of it to put it around an electrical socket. For that you have two other methods, one of which is fairly inexpensive and the other is a lot more expensive. The first one is what we ended up actually using for our project. and that's an angle grinder. With angle grinders, you can get a ton of different blades to do a ton of different things. They're a very multi-use tool, and the angle grinders are actually pretty inexpensive by themselves, so about 40 bucks. Most people already have them around their house, and what I did is I got a blade that has diamonds on it that is made for cutting tile. And it's actually only about 30 bucks, so it's fairly inexpensive, but it works great to make those complex cuts. You just have to make sure you're wearing proper eye protection when you're doing it, and take it nice and slow. So to cut tile with this guy, we'll just show you what it looks like up close. As you can see, it's got little notches here, and you can actually use this particular blade as a wet blade or a dry blade, and I use it in the dry wet method. And what we do, I won't do it here just because we're inside, but I'll kind of demonstrate. We plug it in, and as you can see, this is where I've already cut. All you have to do is set this up against a solid surface, and you just bring it nice in and easy. And then you just make slow cuts if you're trying to cut a chunk out, slow cuts to cut that chunk out, and then you can even out the edges. Pretty simple. It does get messy. You do have to wear safety glasses and a mask just to make sure you're not breathing in all of that tile dust and it doesn't get in your eyes, because that could be very bad. But this is really simple, really easy, and it makes those cuts nice and quick. So the other method to making complex cuts other than using an angle grinder with that diamond blade is going to be a wet tile saw. It works pretty much like your table saw, except it has a constant stream of water that's going over the blade to keep it cool and to make sure the cuts are nice and clean. It works great. I've used them before. The problem is that they are expensive. For the cheap ones, you're looking at about 110 bucks, and for the expensive ones, you're looking at a few hundred, depending on the size that you need. Those work great for the complex cuts. The problem is I only have 6 outlets in here that I'm going to need it for, so the cost benefit of that is 6 outlets for 110 bucks at a minimum, or spend 30 bucks on the blade. So that's why I went with the angle grinder with the blade versus a wet tile saw. But if you have the resources, go ahead and get the wet tile saw. They work great, it's just we just couldn't justify it for this project. So with all that being said, I used the tile cutter as well as the angle grinder with the tile blade on it for my project, and it turned out perfect. It was really good. It was fairly quick to do it, and you'll see next week when we go through and make some tile cuts for our project. But all in all, these two pieces, I spent 30 bucks on the blade for my angle grinder and 23 for the tile cutter, and it was so about 50 something dollars, and it made the project so much easier. I would just never use this thing again. So that's pretty much it, guys. About 50 bucks for these two tools, the blade and the tile cutter, and it made our project so easy. It made it go by really quick, and we could get our project done fast. Make sure to check out our channel next week when we come out with our video about how we put up that subway tile backsplash, and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when that video does come out, and all of our new videos do come out each and every week. Thanks a lot, guys. Y'all have a good one.